Hi there. My name is Matt Mormon, and I am a National Account Manager with TCI. And if you are watching this, then you are here for the Green Bay Field Test webinar for high school teachers. I am not going to do an individual webinar for econ, government, and U.S. history. Our subscriptions work the same way so that you'll be able to get in to a history subscription or an econ subscription or look at the government program. It works the same way. All the controls are the same. So I just thought it would be easiest if we have everybody here. Trying to shoot for about 30 minutes, but they might run 35, 40 minutes to get everything done. We have a lot to talk about. So to start, let me just give you some background information on me and who I am. As I said, my name is Matt Mormon. I've been with TCI for, well, I was a teacher consultant now and a full-time staff member for over 10 years. By trade, I'm a middle school teacher. I taught 8th grade U.S. history in Kalamazoo, Michigan, where I live with my family. And I'm really excited to share these great resources with you today. And I want to thank you for taking time to field test TCI as part of your material selection process. Just a quick little agenda here and what we're going to do today. You're going to see that we're going to start with a little overview of TCI and talk about the TCI approach and strategies. We're not a traditional program, so this is not a read the textbook, answer the questions kind of approach to teaching history or government or econ. It's very much student-centered, very inquiry-based. Students are going to have an active role in the process. So to do that, I feel like we have to start our conversation with a little bit of background about who we are as a company, what our goals are, and what we can do for students as far as hands-on student-centered learning. The way that you're going to access your teacher resources for this field test is by having access to what we call an online teacher subscription. And so a bulk of this webinar is going to be showing you how to use those resources. So we'll start that conversation by getting you signed in. So if you're not already signed in, if you got the link from Beth and have done that already, that's fantastic. But if not, I'm going to show you how to log in. We will use the teacher subscription then after you log in to kind of see how you would both use it as a planning tool and as a delivery tool. So planning wise, I'm going to show you things like assessment tools. I'm going to show you how you'll find the materials that you'll need, downloading a presentation that you can use with your students in class. And then on the teacher side, I'm going to walk you through a little bit of a lesson and how the presentation tool can be used to kind of enhance that experience for your kids in your classroom. And then we'll finalize our conversation by looking at the student subscription, what you can do with your students if you want them to have online resources, and how to get them on. So should you have any questions during this webinar, I want to make sure that you do have my email. I'm going to try to remember to leave it up here at the end again, but my email is mmoorman@teachtci.com. So you can write that down. Again, I'll have it up here at the end, but I am your representative. I'm the National Account Manager for Green Bay. So should you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to contact me. All right, let's get started here by looking at the TCI website. Our website address is www.teachtci.com. You're going to need to go here every time you want to access your teacher resources. When you come here for the first time, just a few things that I want to point out. There's some great resources and tools that are here. Check out our resource center. Things about using the TCI subscriptions. There's short videos. There's how-to videos. There's the correlations. If you want to go in and look at your Wisconsin state standards and see, how we line up to the programs that you're field testing. Also, you got the college and career, the C3 framework, that's on there as well. So check out the TCI Resource Center. Webinars, we have great, fantastic webinars on using subscriptions, teaching strategies, using our digital notebook. I'm going to talk a lot about the notebook coming forward here today. So just wanted to show you how to find that stuff if you want to. And then, of course, the big question is, what is TCI? So let's start there. What is TCI? TCI stands for Teachers Curriculum Institute. We are all social studies teachers. every single one of us, write the lessons, sell the lessons, train teachers how to use the lessons. We are very much for teachers by teachers. Our mission is to transform social studies instruction. We don't want kids just sitting in straight rows, bored out of their minds, sitting and getting all day. Read the chapter, answer the questions over and over. We're trying to shake things up. We want kids communicating, collaborating, being creative. We want them doing social studies. So we think we have a fantastic way of doing that, and I'm excited to share that with you today. Research and theories behind the program. If you click on the what's is TCI and get the drop down, you're going to see the theories and strategies. And there will be like a 5-minute video on the TCI approach. Feel free to check that out. It's not that important to using the program to understand that, but it may help understand the theory, the research behind what we're doing. Wiggins, McTighe, Jerome Bruner, Spiral of Curriculum, Robert Marzano, all of that, what's best in practice, what we know works, that's incorporated into everything that we do. We're really big on teaching to different learning styles. So when you're in a chapter with TCI, there's going to be an activity, a main activity that the kids will do that will help them connect to that content that you're teaching, whether it's high school economics or US history. Each chapter uses one of our 6 multiple intelligence teaching strategies to teach the content. So each chapter is going to feel a little different. There might be one chapter when you're simulating a stock market crash in US history, and the kids are feeling frustrated because they're losing points for the next quiz that they would gain because they gambled and over speculated. That is a kinesthetic experience. It's an experiential exercise. There might be another activity where students are learning about demand and supply, and they're analyzing newspaper headlines and trying to determine what it's saying about a certain good or service and what that's going to do to the demand or the supply curve. That would be an example of a social studies skill builder. So these activities are done throughout all the programs, but they're mixed up, so they're not doing the same thing over and over again, and there are 6 of them. Every chapter is going to start with what we call a preview assignment. It's a short anticipatory set type of activity. Students tap into their prior knowledge, and you get to assess where they are. It helps them hook or lead into that abstract that you're going to be introducing to them. Likewise, at the end of every lesson, there is an authentic experience called a processing assignment where the students have to show both declarative and procedural knowledge so that they can show mastery of what they've learned. And then the middle part of every chapter that coincides with the activity that your kids will be doing, there is the considerate text. So we have print textbooks for students, and then we also have online resources for students. The online student subscription is where students will go to get their online text and the other online resources that we'll be talking about. We recommend, because we use Robert Marzano's note-taking strategy of using sophisticated graphic organizers to help students chunk, classify, and organize information, we recommend that your students keep a book for just your class we call the interactive student notebook. It can be a spiral notebook or a 3-ring binder with college ruled paper in it, that's fine. At the beginning of every chapter, your students are going to get a handout called the notebook guide, and it's going to help them organize their reading and activity notes so that they can process what they're reading, make sense of what they're doing, and then go back, have something to go back and study for quizzes, tests, exams, and things like that later. Very important piece. The notebook guide is also online, so if you're in a situation where your students have devices and they're online, you want to run a paperless classroom, that's totally fine. They can do all of that in the interactive notebook online, and I will be showing that as well. So let's start that conversation about student and teacher resources by going to our high school programs page. And you can see here that we have Government Alive, Econ Alive, and History Alive, Pursuing American Ideals. Those are the 3 programs I believe you guys are field testing. Econ Alive, they're all very new. Econ Alive is just brand new this year. The other 2 are a year old, so they don't have the new sticker on them. If I go into print features, for example, you'll notice that there aren't many print features anymore. The only thing that we really provide to you in print is a textbook, and then there are some activity placards that I will provide that you'll use time to time. You won't use them in every chapter. Not every chapter requires them. Most all of the resources are online. All of the teacher lesson plans, assessment tools, differentiation, all that stuff's online. So we call that the online teacher subscription. We call it a subscription because it does expire. You're going to have access to this resource for the rest of the school year. And then should you implement or adopt TCI as your resource moving forward, you'll have a subscription for anywhere from 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, depending on how long you want the subscription for. Most of the school districts that I work with in Wisconsin usually get a 6-year subscription, and then they reevaluate in 6 years if they want to continue with TCI or look for something else. The important thing to note is whenever we make an update or change to the subscription, any advances in technology, any new features, you get that while you're under subscription. So I have schools right now, let's just take Madison Metro, for example, in Madison, that may have adopted TCI 4 years ago. They're still right now using the 2016 TCI technology. Well, it's almost 2016. So teacher subscriptions, you're going to get classroom presentation. This is very important. Every lesson has an engaging activity with music and sound effects and sometimes video and questions and directions for doing a simulation. It makes it real simple when it's all put together in a nice presentation for you. Assessment tools, being able to send messages and share files with your students, differentiation. So we're going to go really deep into these things in just a few minutes here. And then likewise, the student subscription has the text online, and it has the ability to do the note-taking stuff from the interactive notebook online. And then there are things like game-like reading challenges that are great for formative assessments. And then they have summative assessment tools that they can use so they can take a test, have it graded, and you can see like item analysis and class trends. Fantastic resource. All of our stuff is platform agnostic, works on all devices. So smartphones, tablets, e-readers, all of that stuff. Okay. Well, let's get started. Let's dive into your teacher subscription. To get into a teacher subscription, when you're at TCI's main homepage, you need to click the teacher sign in. I'm already logged in here because I have an account. So what I'm going to do for you is I'm going to walk you through and show you what it would be like to sign in as a new teacher, somebody that's coming here for the very first time. If it's your first time on this page, before you put your email and start guessing at passwords, you need to click the green create an account button. Okay. When you get to this page, most of this information you can do yourself. You know what your email is. So I'm going to do a demo email at tci@tci.com. It asked me to confirm it just to make sure that it's the same. And then I'm going to put my name in. Okay. Make sure your password matches. It'll ask you twice. And I keep messing up the password that I want to use. So I'm going to retype it one more time just to make sure I do it right. Okay. And then agree to the terms. But there is one thing that you do need from TCI, and that is the access code, the unique access code. That access code will put you into my demo account. And I gave that to Beth. It's 61SF1PV. Once you have that access code and you put it with your form that you're filling out here, you can sign up and you'll be creating a profile for yourself. So I am now in, and I don't have a subscription just yet, but I at least have a user profile. To get a user subscription, you just have to simply click add program. Now, when you do this, because you're not in the Green Bay school district right now, you're actually in the fake Matt Mormon demo school district. And in the Matt Mormon fake demo school district, well, our district has access to every single TCI program ever made, even the science ones. So could be a little confusing. So I'm going to kind of point out the ones that you're going to want to use for your field test. As you scroll down, you're going to want either the 2014 Government Alive. Be very careful. Don't grab the 2009 copyright. Grab the 2014 copyright for Government Alive. And if you need more programs, you can just simply add program. You will want for Econ, scroll down, the 2010, 2015, excuse me, 2015 Econ. So don't grab the 2010, but grab 2015. And then for U.S. history, you are going to want to get History Alive, Pursuing American Ideals, the 2013 version. Those are the 3 programs that you guys are field testing, and these are the ones that you're going to want to have. Now, you don't all have to have all 3 of them. If you teach 9th grade econ and you're doing econ right now, just get econ. If you're teaching U.S. history and you don't have to do anything with government, don't worry about those. I was just showing you how you get those 3 and how you could have 3 to your profile. Let's take a look and see what we can do here with Econ Alive, Government Alive, and History Alive. First thing you're going to want to do is set up your classes. You can see that I don't have any students enrolled. I have 25 student subscriptions available. It's important to note that if you need more subscriptions than that, to please let me know. I can add them in. In fact, I'm planning on adding more in right now. I'm going to add a few hundred in before your field test starts. But if you need more, if you get here, start doing something and it says there aren't any more subscriptions, just contact me or contact Beth and she'll contact me and we'll get those subscriptions added for you. I'm going to hit add and edit classes right now because right now I only have 1 class and my class name is called The Power to Choose. That's not very helpful. My students don't really talk like that. So I'm going to change the name of the class to just Econ and Civics, or just Econ 2nd semester, 1st semester. Okay, hit save. And I'm going to go ahead and add a couple other classes. Let's say I teach 4 hours of Econ, 4 preps. Whoops, that's period 4. We'll do that 1 more. We'll do period 5. And we'll pretend that I have 3rd hour planning. Getting students signed on is pretty easy. You just click add student 1 more time, and there are 4 ways to get kids on. At the end, I'm hoping to come back and revisit this, but it's basically you type them in manually, or you batch upload them, or you simply have them sign up themselves. It is extremely easy for your high school students to sign up themselves. All they have to do is go to teachtci.com. They have to click student sign in, create an account, put your email in, fill the rest out themselves, click sign up, and they're enrolled in your class. It's that simple. Okay. So now that we got our classes set up, let's go in and look at how we might teach some of this stuff. So I'm going to click teach now. And this is the same, by the way. So if you're thinking right now that you really wish that I would be focusing on U.S. history and I'm focusing on econ, again, the content is not important. I can go over 2 programs, look at my U.S. history. It's the same exact. You have everything. The table of contents is right here. You have the presentations, materials, assignments, assessments, gradebook, and more. And that is true. If we're in Government Alive, it looks the same way. Presentations, materials, assessments, assignments, gradebook, and more. Everything is the same. So I just wanted to really quickly, I had happened to be showing you the econ one because I had a lesson that I wanted to just kind of walk you through in there, and I've already got the classes set up. So this is the same for all 3. When you first get here, you're going to scan the table of contents to figure out what chapter you want to look at. You have to be in a chapter to really find what you're looking for. So let's say we're going to be teaching our unit on supply and demand, in which TCI calls demand and supply. We do that because we always teach demand first, so it just makes sense. Once you click in here, all of these icons in the top become live for what you need. When I click assessment, that's my assessment options for chapter 5. When I click on materials, those are the materials that I need for chapter 5. And when I click on presentation, that's the presentation I need for chapter 5. Now, what is the presentation? I'm going to open it up here. It's going to open up in a new window and download right in front of us while we're watching here. The presentation is like a PowerPoint that has all of the visuals, audio, step-by-step instruction. It's got guided questions, directions for doing the simulations. Everything that you need to teach the lesson is right there in the presentation. It makes it so simple. So when you first get to a lesson, I recommend you open up the presentation, get it downloaded like I've done here, and then, click through the slides. You have the entire chapter laid out here. So you can go through in the edit mode and just kind of click through and see, what is this lesson all about? What are my students going to be doing in this particular chapter? Going through it once or twice makes it really, really simple. Now, aside from having the presentation as a way to figure out what you're going to do, you also have in your teacher subscription actual step-by-step procedures. So under more, a drop down will come down and you'll see teacher resources and you'll see procedures. When I click on procedures, I get an overview and objectives to the chapter. I have the chapter at a glance, just letting me know real quick what the kids are going to do, and then the drilled down procedures. So the preview activity, for example. Those of you who teach econ, this will make sense. We're going to create a class demand schedule for a fictitious good that all kids would probably want. If I were teaching this, I'd probably bring in a big can of Monster soda and a bunch of candy bars and try to figure out how many kids are willing and able to pay for that, and figure out what they're willing and able to pay for at, so that we can get a demand curve figured out for that item. That's the preview, 20 minutes to do that. Reading it like this way makes sense, but going through the procedures and seeing that this is what we're doing, we're creating that demand schedule for that mystery item, is a lot more visually appealing. So if you're a visual learner, the presentation is definitely the way to go. If you're not, you're probably going to want to read your procedures this way. So you can go through all of your lesson plans. It's important to note that there is not a teacher's edition textbook. You're going to use the same textbook that your students do. What you're looking at right here inside your teacher subscription is your teacher edition, okay? Looking at my procedures, I know that there's some materials I need for this chapter, so I'm going to click materials. I already talked to you a little bit about the notebook guide. Let's take a look at what the notebook guide is. Pull that up. It's a PDF. It's a one-page handout that every kid gets at the beginning of every chapter. Their essential question is there. Their preview assignment is there. And then anything that they're supposed to answer in their notebook after they've read a section from the text. So we're dealing with high school students here. What we would want them to do right here is read section 2 of their text and answer these questions. Now, they can do this one of two ways. They can either answer those questions in a spiral notebook that they designate just for your class, that we call the interactive notebook. Tape this handout in that notebook so that they know what they're supposed to do, and they can give it to you that way. Or another way they can do it is they can go into the student subscription and answer those questions and submit them to you electronically. Every teacher subscription has a window into a student subscription. So by simply clicking Student View, you will be able to go in and look at the online text and the online interactive notebook. So if students had to answer this question about the demand schedule we created in class, they would type their answer right here and hit save. Once they decide to plot the demand curve, if they end up going in, how many kids are going to, let's say, $9, maybe a few more kids at $8, more kids are willing to pay bigger money or something like that, and then they can plot that and save that. So this is kind of a very cool resource for your students, because you could run a paperless classroom if you wanted to do that, if you had the capacity, the technology to do that. While we're here, some other features in the student text that are pretty cool. They can have the text read to them.
Introduction. In late 2005, a new album release.
They can check for main ideas. Let's go to the next section because we're in section 1. Let's click main ideas, and it will highlight the most important parts in blue. They can annotate and add notes. You can't do that because you're a teacher, but they can. And they can click on vocabulary and have the vocabulary defined for them. Of course, there's also Spanish translations. Tables and graphs can be zoomed in and looked at. Any image really can. And then, of course, again, that interactive student notebook is embedded right into the student subscription. After they've completed the reading, they may want to take part in what's called the Reading Challenge. The Reading Challenge is a game that tests their comprehension over what they've read. This one's called PSI. It's kind of a play on the show CSI, but it's primary source investigation. When they click a folder will open up. They'll have a magnifying tool if they have to look at a document. They'll have to look at the document, use it with what they remember from the reading, and answer the question. And they get 2 attempts at answering the question. If they get it wrong, they've answered it, but they don't get any points for it. So got that one correct, and it will show up as a point. On the teacher end, this is a fantastic summative assessment for you, or excuse me, I'm sorry, formative assessment for you, because you're going to be able to see item analysis for each kid, but you're also going to be able to see class trends. So I'm going to go back into teacher view for a moment. And if I clicked on the grade book, we don't have any students in here. So let me really quickly sign into my other account, and I will show you what that will look like. Hopefully I have some. They have. Let's go into my government class real quick. Let's go into my grade book for government. And let's go to, I have 1 student in there. I don't have any scores, but this is what it would basically, there's my 1 student, and that student didn't take the reading challenge, but their score would be right here. And so would all the scores. It would grades it automatically. So all the scores for all my students would be in there. I can click view trends and see all the questions, and then where it says NA, that would be the percentage of correct on the first attempt. So if I see a question like about, let's see, what the margin of error in a poll is small, you can assume that, and people aren't getting that right, and it says only 20% of my kids got that right. I know I'm going to want to use that as that data as a tool to reteach tomorrow, so I could maybe start my class the next day, warming up my students by bringing up that fact that they got that, all bomb that on the reading challenge, and go from there. So that's an excellent formative resource tool for you to use. Okay, so back in this teacher subscription, I was showing you guys the presentation and going through that. Just want to continue with that to show you a little bit about what the activity would be. So I'm going to go to full screen mode here. So in this particular activity, and again, there's an activity for every single lesson that your students will do. Every chapter has an activity. So we're teaching supply and demand in this case, and that's not always the easiest concept for students to get. They're going to work in pairs. They're doing a social studies skill builder. Social studies skill builder is high-paced task, skill-oriented task that they practice over and over again and get immediate feedback from the teacher. They're going to receive a headline from the teacher. And this is so cool because we do this as an example. We're always saying that you should model with your students. Well, we're modeling with the students right now. So step 1, get a newspaper headline from your teacher. So these students got this headline, and it says average wages declines for workers around the country. Okay. Carefully read the headline and determine whether that information will shift the entire demand curve to the left or right, or not shift the demand curve but change the quantity demanded. Now, again, what I failed to mention is prior to this part of the activity, the students did read all about demand shifters. So they know what demand shifters are. Then in their interactive notebook, they will write the headline, determine if it's going to, what it's going to do, shift left or shift right, and then write their explanation for why they did what they said that it would do that. Okay. After the students do one, they come up and get another one. So you can see that in the handout that you give your students, there are going to be about 10 newspaper headlines for demand shifters. If you have an interactive smart board in your classroom, when you are going over the answers with the class, you could read that first headline and say, okay, who had average workers declines for workers around the country first? And a student might raise their hand and come up to your whiteboard. They can use your whiteboard tools, or they can use our whiteboard tools. So if I was coming up here, I would tell my teacher that this is going to shift the demand to the left. And so I would come in and grab the line tool, draw my line to the left, grab an arrow, and show that. And then, of course, the teacher can determine whether I'm right or wrong with the class. And we can move on and do this again with all the remaining newspaper headlines. Students will then read about, in their text, they're going to read about supply shifters. They're going to answer some basic questions about supply shifters, and then they will partake in another activity similar to the one they did with demand shifters, but with supply shifters. And I'm not going to take you through this entire lesson. It's fantastic. It's very kinesthetic. The kids will actually form human supply and demand curves, linking arms with 3 other students in their class later on. They really like it. It's a great way to understand supply and demand. So the materials tab, somehow I signed myself off. So real quick, I'll just go back in there. The materials tab shows me all the materials I need, the notebook guide, any handouts I need, the teacher answers, all of that's right there. Assignments tab, you probably won't use that. You're only going to use assignments if you go into your settings and make it so that your students can't look at the book ahead of time. Most teachers don't care if they go on and read ahead. So as long as you don't lock your students out that way, you will never have to assign a chapter. You will have to assign actual tests, but you won't have to assign the chapter. So let's talk assessment now. Let's finish our conversation with assessment. The assessment tools are pretty basic, very, very simple to use. We have print assessment, summative resources, and online. Most teachers want to create their own test. They don't want to use ours. But if you did, we have the English version here. Our chapters are quite quick, quite short. So you're going to have maybe 6 or 7, maybe 8 multiple choice questions. Here we have 10. Then there's exploring the essential question with some short answer questions, and then an essay question. So if you want more than that, then you would use our assessment creator to create your own. So you could do a print or an online version. So let's do the online version just because to show you. I mean, it works the same way, so it doesn't matter. So I'm going to call this Unit 2. I'm going to call it Unit 2 because I'm actually going to show you how to bring questions from more than one chapter into one bigger type summative exam. So to begin, add a question from the question bank or create your own. So here we have TCI question bank and teacher question bank. So teacher question bank would be questions that other teachers around the country have asked or have submitted. And the TCI question bank are all the questions that we created for the program. And we didn't create a lot because, we tend to feel that assessment is a very personal thing for a lot of schools. So we provide a few basic exploring the essential question, a couple essay and short answer, and 8 to 10 multiple choice questions per chapter. And then the rest is either you can use the teacher bank or add your own assessments. So to add these assessment questions to your assessment, simply select all, click add to the assessment, and they will be there. Once they're there, you have the right to delete them. You can move them around. You can go in and edit them and change them. You can also add in your own multiple choice question. So if you want to write a question and you want to make sure that this is like a DBQ question, you can even attach a file to it as long as there's some kind of image on there. I'm going to make it a medium display. Click Save. Maybe I want to add teacher bank question. So I'll go in here and grab a couple questions that some teachers wrote, add to my assessment. And now I want to merge some assessment questions from TCI's other chapters. This was just chapter 5. So I'm going to go back to TCI question bank. This time I'm going to use the drop-down menu and click chapter 2. And that gives me a whole new set of questions I can pick from to make more of like a summative exam. Add those to my assessment, and I'm ready to go. I can preview the assessment, see what it looks like online for my students. There's the spaces for them to type. There's the image that I put in. I just put a random image in. And it looks good. so I can assign it to my students, or I can share that assessment with the other department members. Okay. So when I assign it, right there, Unit 2, make it due tomorrow, and it's live for students. In addition to these resources that I've shown you, there are additional resources you may want to go in and message your students, or look at your correlations to the Wisconsin state standards. There's differentiation. I'll show you how a few of those work. For instance, correlations. Now this will be to me in Michigan, so it won't exactly correlate it to you. But when you are logged in, you should have be able to see Wisconsin standards. But this is California right now as just an example. And these are the standards as they're linked to the individual sections, presentations, and activity. Also under more is differentiation. So English language learners, learners writing and reading below grade level, there's modifications for special needs, and even advanced learners. You can share files with your students. This is kind of cool. Elementary teachers do not get that excited about this, but high school teachers love it. You want to create something on your own that you want students to do, but you want them to be able to find it right in the student subscription. You can go in, choose a file from your desktop, upload it, put directions, and submit it, and it will be there for your students. Okay? Let's lastly talk about, one more time, the student subscription. Just want to make sure that we've hit everything that you want to know about the student subscription. Again, the student subscription is the online resource for students. It's the text, and it's the interactive notebook, and it's the assessments online and the reading challenge online. To get students in your class, there are basically 4 ways to do that. So when you're at your home tab, I'm in Econ Live Power Choose right now. Add students. Actually, let me go into 2015. Add students. Okay, you can see I have some in there. I'm going to add another student. I can just simply type the student's name in myself. I can add an existing student if I'm pulling a student that's already in the program. I can batch upload. So there's a template here. You download the template. It's a CSV. You can import your class roster into there. You just have to put the program code in, which we will provide the program code for you here. And then you save it as a CSV and choose the file as an upload, and your students will be in. But I recommend that you use the 4th way, which is the student sign up. It's very, very simple. I was showing you that earlier in the webinar. Again, students just go to the TCI website, click on student sign in, create account. As long as they have your email, they put the rest of the information in themselves, they can sign up and they're in your class. So again, I'm going to keep my email up there one more time. I want to make sure that everybody has that, a way of getting a hold of me. Again, it's mmoorman@teachtci.com. I want to thank you all very much for agreeing to field test. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to watch this. I hope we didn't go too long. I was aiming for about a half hour, but I may have gone a little bit over. Please don't feel free to reach out and ask questions if you don't understand something, or you can't find something, or you need a little bit of assistance. Please let Beth or I know. We'd be happy to help you. And again, thank you for very much for agreeing to field test TCI, and have a great day.